Hello, good evening to another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. This is Phil Dixon coming to you live and in color tonight with the January 23rd, 2026 edition of This Day of this wonderful baseball legacy that we're leaving here, letting you know all about the Negro Leagues and all the things that I personally kind of experienced over the years. So this is a place where you can come and get information, unlike information you get in anywhere else. Done a lot of interviews and done some wonderful things. So I want to share all that information with you. And well, let's not waste much time. Let's go to work because I have lots to say. I try to keep these broadcasts down to about 20 minutes, guys. Right now we don't have any commercials, so hey, you can put this on, lay in your bed, and just listen to the broadcast. How about that? So we're going to start with how about January 23rd, 1910. Let's go to 1910. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna move up a little closer here. The Piedmont White Sox, and they're out Piedmont up around Washington D.C., are organized in that area. There, the list of players include Walter Savoy, he was the manager, John Ross, James Ford, George Stevenson, Guy Bradley, William Baker, W. Lee Jones, Thomas Poindexter. How about Harry Johnson? Boy, you don't hear anybody still name their kids Harry? And Carl Ray, William Barber, and Ernest Gatewood, along with Matty Matthews, Pars, P-A-R-S, Bird, and John Campbell. Wow. Now, that's the Piedmont White Sox. Now, remember, I try to share with you, there's a lot of teams that are organizing, especially around this time of year. So they had their meeting on this date there in D.C., and most of these guys are people you will never hear from again. They played in the area. Most of them didn't go to the Negro Leagues, but they just stayed in the area and played. But the one that we will remember is a guy by the name of Ernest Gatewood. And he was an accomplished catcher and enjoyed a long career in the Negro Leagues. And this guy was born in Washington, D.C., and he debuted 1924 and played primarily with the Brooklyn Royal Giants and the Baccarat Giants through 1927. If I'm not correct, somebody correct me on this. I think he went to Harvard University too. So, but anyway, yeah. So every time you find players who are just around regions getting together, you're going to find some people who go much further than everyone else. Now, that's interesting because I will go places and people will say, oh, my grandfather played in the Negro Leagues. And of course, you won't actually find them in the Negro Leagues or in the Negro American Leagues. You won't find them in any of these lists. That's because they played for teams like this. And this particular time, it was the Piedmont White Sox. And I guarantee you, people don't know much about these teams. So I like to bring these names because these are names that if these people have relatives, they have family, and they would maybe like to hear some of these names and related to historically, right? So, okay. So we have people joining. If you're joining here, let me know where you're joining from. That's always exciting. And if you like what I'm doing here, go ahead and subscribe here. I'm not in a uniform today. I'm just kind of chilling out here because it's winter time in Kansas City. I think we're going to get down below zero tonight. So weather is a factor all over America. So, but it's nice we can get together and talk about baseball. All right. So let's go to another one here. Let me get another one here. My computer's jumping around here. And so hang on just a second here. I want to go to the second one here. All right. So now, we have the Winter League Baseball going on right now. So I've always got to talk about Winter League Baseball. So I see some people joining me, guys. Hang in here and be sure to hit that subscription button. But anyway, January 23rd, 1927, the Philadelphia Royal Giants captured both ends of a doubleheader over the White King Soaps in California Winter League action. And man, they put a lot of runs on the board, 15 runs in a doubleheader. So in the first game, Turkey Stearns and Willie Wells both had a pair of hits, with one of Stearns' hits going for a home run. And of course, George Harney received the win. George Harney was a great pitcher, pitched for the American Giants. And the final score being 4-0 in the opener. Now in the second game, it ended after 7 innings by agreement. A lot of times they will play a doubleheader, and that second game is going to be 7 innings, right? Okay, so we got the 7 innings by agreement, and it ended with the score 11-0. Now Herbert Rap Dixon, he went 3 for 4 in that game and scored a pair of runs. I like the sound of his name, Dixon. That's a good sounding. That's a good sounding name. That's my name. Hey, wait a minute here. Let's keep going. And Stearns finished the day going. Let's see. Okay, Biz Mackey smacked a homer, and so did Turkey Stearns. He hit another home run, a second time. Okay, and that gave Willie Foster, who was Ruth Foster's younger brother, the pitching victory. Now Stearns finished that day, that doubleheader, by going 4 for 7 with 3 runs scored, a pair of home runs, 1 stolen base, 1 hit by a pitch, and a perfect day of fielding in the outfield on defense. So that was Norman Turkey Stearns. And of course, if you follow me and I get a chance to talk about these people, most of the people I mentioned, Mackey is in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, as is Turkey Stearns, as is Willie Wells. The only one that I mentioned, actually, Foster is also in the Hall of Fame. So that's four guys in the Hall of Fame. And then the other players I mentioned was Rap Dixon and George Harney. Now, Rap Dixon, there is a good movement now, people trying to get Rap Dixon some recognition, so maybe he can get into the Hall of Fame. He was certainly a great outfielder. And so I always like to talk about him. And once again, I like the sound of that name, since it's my name too. Now, the other one, an interesting person in here, is a guy by the name of George Harney. And he was the pitcher through the shutout in the first game. The interesting thing about Harney is he was born in Bessemer, Alabama. Now, if you can do this real quick, give me the name of a baseball player who was born, Major League Baseball player born in Bessemer, Alabama. How quickly can you type that in without researching it? Anybody know the answer? Type it in real quick. I will give you 5 seconds to type it in. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about this? It was Bo Jackson, also born in Bessemer, Alabama. Yeah, Bo Jackson. So Harney came from that same city. That's where he was born. Now the interesting thing is said that Harney attended Western University in Quindaro, Kansas. Now I'm not sure how he got to Kansas. I'm going to do a little more research on that because I know something about that college. Of course, I'm in Kansas, and Western University was in walking distance from my house. And we lived in 2 different houses in Kansas City, Kansas, and it was in walking distance from both of my houses. And Quindaro was a main thoroughfare that went through the African American community. And at that time, Quindaro was actually a town. And if you look up some things on the Underground Railroad, it was part of that. But it was all unified together when I came through, and it was called Kansas City, Kansas. But the first ever history paper that I ever wrote was on Western University. And believe this, guys, I wrote that in 1977. Man, how many years have that been ago? I wish I could read that again. I wrote it for a class called American Folklore. I was going to Kansas City, Kansas Community College, and I was just really beginning to get interested in history. And I wrote that paper, and I turned it in, didn't keep a copy or anything like that, but it was kind of like the history of Western University. And I talked to one of their professors, a guy by the name of Orrin Murray, who ended up being one of my mentors. And that was Orrin Murray, and I wrote that history. Now, the other interesting thing about Western University is that my mother was a 1932 graduate of Western University. And so Harney, I think he was gone by then because he started playing for the American Giants, I think 1924, something like that. But I found it fascinating that they said he went to Western University. So I'm going to check everything I can to see what I can do to bring that history up to date on George Harney and Western University, which is right in my hometown, all right? And here, for the record, Western University was the furthest west HBCU in America. So that was Quindaro, Kansas. Most people didn't know that they had an HBCU in Kansas. How about that? All right, so we're going to move right on. How about this? January 23rd, 1935, an article in, oh, no, let's go back to 1932. So, okay, January 23rd, 1932. I want to use this one also. Oscar Charleston is named manager of the 1932 Pittsburgh Crawfords, and he was selected over three other men. William Henry Bill Pierce, he was a former catcher, and William Dismukes also had a bid in on the job, and Bobby Williams, the old Chicago American Giants shortstop. And so they all lost out to a guy by the name of Oscar Charleston, and then he goes on and recruits many of the star players from Cumberland Posey's great 1931 Homestead Grays, and they become the powerhouse at that particular point. And that was 1932 and January 23rd, 1932, when he was selected to manage that team. Of course, players are moving around a little bit, so how about this? January 23rd, 1935, an article in the Brooklyn Times-Union reported that John Henry Lloyd recommended William Addison Ward of Atlantic City, an outfielder, to the Brooklyn Eagles, a new entry in the Negro National League. He played for the Bacharach Giants in 1932, so he already had some experience when he came to the Brooklyn team. And man, that's high praise when you get a recommendation from a legendary player like John Henry Lloyd, man. I tell you, this Ward guy must have been pretty good to get that recommendation from John Henry Lloyd. Years ago, I interviewed George Giles, who was a member of that team. Actually, I interviewed Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe. He also pitched for the Brooklyn team that year, the Brooklyn Eagles, before they became the Newark Eagles. So they were the Brooklyn Eagles. And I remember Ben Taylor was the manager at the beginning, but Ben came in with a kind of old school attitude. And I remember George Giles telling me that they didn't like that, playing for one run. They wanted a more explosive offense, want more home runs, a lot more base running and things that Ben Taylor was doing. And so Ben Taylor lost his job and George Giles became the manager. So I actually talked to the manager of the 1935 Brooklyn Eagles, George Giles. So got a few people come in here. Somebody said Ralph Garr. No, Ralph Garr wasn't from Bessemer. I think he was from Atlanta. I'm going to have to look that one up. I've interviewed Ralph before. Ralph Garr. Yeah, nice guy, too. He's still scouting for the Atlanta Braves, too, by the way. I think he's a member of the Major League Scouting Bureau, but he's still out there associated with baseball, yeah. So I'm going to look him up after I get off of here and see, because, hey, I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before, but I've been right a lot of times, all right? Okay, so if anybody's here, let me know where you're joining from, guys. Nobody's saying anything about where you are, guys. I don't know, maybe you're in one of these areas where the snow is and you're just scared to say where you are, but that's all right. Let's go on to the next one. Let's see, January 23rd, 1955. Man, we're moving right along. During a 1-hour television show on Wichita station KAKE-TV, Satchel Paige is given a plaque as the #1 graduate of the NBC, now that's the National Baseball Congress Tournament, based on his 1935 performance of 60 strikeouts in 4 games, an average of 15 strikeouts per game. And guess what? That record is still tops today. Nobody's passed that record up, and they still play the tournament. I don't know if it's as big as it used to be, but it was a really big tournament all through the 30s, and some of these great teams would come from all over the country. So somebody said, Bob Poet, howdy from Lake Tahoe. Bob, I don't think you're getting the weather we're getting out here, man. I tell you, we're getting snow and ice, and Kansas City's going to be 10 degrees tomorrow. That might be the high. So we're looking for a big snowstorm to come through. So I'm going to take it easy. I might do more than one broadcast tomorrow if I can get that energy. But I have enough information here, so we may do that. And Bob, you missed the trivia question naming another baseball player. Now, George Harney was born in Bessemer, Alabama, and naming another baseball player who was born in Bessemer, Alabama. And he's a pretty famous one. And I threw that out there, and I gave them about 5 seconds to answer it. Didn't know if you knew the answer right off the top of your head. Of course, anybody can look it up, but the answer was Bo Jackson. And I know Bo. And I worked for the Kansas City Royals when Bo Jackson was there. And so somebody said Woodlands, Texas. Yeah, Woodlands, Texas. I have not been to Woodlands, Texas. Actually, I did a 200 city tour a few years ago, and when I finished the tour, I couldn't get anybody to book me into Texas. I had a couple of offers, and we couldn't get together. I was trying to go to Wichita Falls. They never could get it together. So I finished that 200 city tour, 17 states, without ever coming to Texas. And one of the reasons when you come to Texas, you don't want to just come down there for one city. It's a big state. So you want to cover as much territory as you can. So the Texas Humanities worked out, they were going to have me come down and speak in 5 cities in 2020. So we had worked everything out, and I was going to come back to Texas, visiting places like Dallas and Houston and Austin. And guess what happened in 2020? Yeah, we had a pandemic, and it never happened. And so anyway, I'm not doing that much touring this year because I have some special projects I'm working on, trying to finish a couple of books. But I will come back out next year, God willing, and I will come out and do my presentation. And I have a unique presentation. I've received many standing ovations. It's completely different what I'm doing here, completely different than what I'm doing here, right? Okay, so we have one more thing that we'll do tonight, and it happened on January the 23rd, 1955, and Jackie Robinson is selected to baseball's Hall of Fame with 124 votes, and that was 4 more than the minimum required. Man, he just snuck in there, 4 more than the minimum required. And it's always interesting. Hall of Fame voting is one of the most interesting things ever. There are people who didn't vote for Ted Williams, people who didn't vote for Willie Mays, people who didn't vote for Jackie Robinson. Hey, you know, I can't always figure that out, but yeah, there's always some people, I don't know if they're angry or they just don't want to cast their vote, but it's a Hall of Fame voting is very controversial, we'll just say that. Yeah, so that kind of does it for me tonight, guys. I see you coming in here, and I see Texas in here. You guys, I think you're supposed to get some weather down there. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who's been following me and keeping up with these broadcasts. I'm trying to improve as I go and continue to drop lots of information. I have lots of stories and people I've interviewed over the years. And you know, I'm just looking at this list. I talk to Satchel Paige's daughter all the time. Linda, I talk to her all the time. She's on like automatic dial on my telephone. I need to probably call her tomorrow. And Jackie Robinson's wife, Rachel, she helped me do some things before. Actually, I even talked to Ruby Dee, who played Jackie Robinson's wife in the Jackie Robinson story, the original Jackie Robinson story. And yeah, so I think that's about it that I want to talk about. Yeah, and I talked to the Stearns family. I interviewed Willie Wells and talked to Rap Dixon's brother. So this is, and of course, I've really talked to the Fosters too. Somebody said George Harney. Yeah, George Harney is from Bessemer, Alabama, but also Bo Jackson was born there too. So if you go back, if you didn't join at the beginning, I talk about George Harney going to Western University in Quindaro, Kansas, the same college that my mother went to. It was an HBCU in Quindaro, Kansas. So, all right. So all right, somebody said Ralph Garr was actually born in Monroe, Louisiana. All right. One of these days, I'll tell you about some guys born in Monroe, Louisiana. I think it was, yeah, I think Willie Brown might have been born in Monroe or Shreveport, one or the other. But he definitely was born in one of those towns or the other. He's either Monroe or Shreveport. But yeah, some good ball players come from every place where there's baseball being played. We can pluck somebody and talk about them. So, guys, that does it for me tonight. I don't have a lot more to say, except that I will be back. And of course, this is the January 23rd. 2026 edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And guys, if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe. I'm still still asking for those subscribers. I'm going to keep on until I hit that magic number of 1,000. So if you want me to quit saying subscribe, help me get 1,000 subscribers, and I will quit. So that's my goal, and hopefully before we get 6 months in, I'll get it, and I really think that I will. So, guys, thank you very much. It's been my honor to talk to you about baseball tonight, and not too many days before spring training. And anybody know how many days before pitchers and catchers report? I wanted to track that last night, but I got busy today and hadn't had a chance to find out how many days we have. But it's not many. It's not many, and spring training is right around the corner. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about Major League Baseball and try to connect the past with the present more often, so it will become fun again as well. So, all right, guys, thank you. It's been my pleasure, and have a nice evening, and I will see you tomorrow with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Thank you for hanging in there with me. This is Phil Dixon, and see you tomorrow.